What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Six Gaming Podcast. This is episode 131, and filling in for your host, as always, it's Ron Clay. Glad to have you with us tonight. With me, we have who's rapidly becoming Mr. Awesome and Illustrious. Like, it's part of your name now. I mean,
it's just me.
I mean,
There's nothing else about me.
He's like so awesome and illustrious that he's starting to get some awesome and illustrious fuzz going here.
I'm trying. I'm trying something out.
Very nice. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing all right.
Very good to hear, because we've got we've got not a whole lot of news this week.
I think this might be a short week. We'll see where we go.
Did I spoil the first half? I spoiled the first half of the show. The first half of the show is news. I totally spoiled it.
It's okay. It shows here part of the podcast.
It is. Wait, no, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's not this. That's not what this part is.
Yes, it is. It is one of Show's favorite parts of the podcast.
One of Show's favorite parts of the podcast. Yeah. We'll go with that. And we have kind of a little bit of news here. First of all, talk about playing catch up. Wizards of the Coast has finally put out an answer to Hearthstone, it's in the process of.
First of all, Hearthstone. Second of all, so Magic Online has been out for 15 years, something like that.
And it's not great.
It is not great. It's buggy. There's been a lot of people over the years who because you can pay to play games like you could at a game store, right? Like you can play a draft game, or you can play sealed or whatever. So you basically buy packs online and you play the games online. But people have had like games crash out on them and they've lost their winnings or whatever, or they've had like the entry fees taken away because of a bug or whatever. There's some shit that's happened. And it still looks like it was made 15 years ago, right? It does not look like a good game. So Magic the Gathering Arena is coming out, which incidentally is named the first book that was ever released, as far as I know, for Magic the Gathering back in early 90s. You could send away the back page and get a special card, which I never did. I recently found the book on my bookshelf and was like, where'd that card go? And I looked and it was like, offer expires like March 1995 or something like that. So I wonder if that's worth anything. I should check that.
Whoops.
Anyway, so in the clips that they've shown, it looks a lot like Hearthstone. Down to the way that the cards come out of your hand, and the overall movement and aesthetics looks a lot like Hearthstone, which is not a bad thing. If they can make it graphically and play style attractive, but use the Magic rules and have the Magic cards, they could do something with that. To this day, I still think that the book Arena, the concept is that it's basically a story based on the game and the cards, right? So like the idea behind the cards is you're a planeswalker, right? You have all these spells and you're fighting another planeswalker. And in the book Arena, there are mages who have spells that are like basically represented by tokens in a satchel that they carry. And they have duels with their spells. And like when they use green mana, like forests pop up around them. And when they cast creatures, like the creatures actually appear and fight the other creatures or whatever. I've always thought that would be a fucking awesome game, as if like a first person game where like, or even kind of like a top down, but like as you cast spells, to use a comparison that Coles would like, almost like Pokemon, right? Like you throw out your Pokeball, your Pokemon shows up and it fights the other Pokemon, but in much better detail with much cooler graphics and everything. and you actually see the creatures fight, and you actually like lightning bolt streaks out of the sky and hits something and kills it. Like I really think that would be a cool way to do it. But I don't think there's just so many cards. There'd be so many animations. I think it would get out of hand now.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff. I mean, what, 20 plus years of Magic?
Yes,
a lot of things.
25 now, I think.
Put in there. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, very interesting that they're putting that out. I actually signed up for the betas. We'll see.
Yep, I did as well.
I have no idea if that will put that in. And moving on to something that I saw this, and it's like, you know, at the same time, this is offensive, but it's painting a very accurate picture of certain events today.
Yeah.
So
I really wish Dropkick were here, because he would have so much to say about this.
He would say so much. Veg would say.
It'd be amazing.
Veg would say a lot. So South Park's The Fractured Butthole. Say that 3 times fast. Will have a difficulty slider that changes the difficulty of the game and the color of your skin.
So let's be clear. When you're doing it, Cartman comments, he says, "Don't worry, this doesn't affect combat, just every other aspect of your life." So supposedly, like, so it doesn't change combat. I don't know if that's a separate slider, but as it, just to be clear, in the game, as you set it to more difficult, the darker your skin gets.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's on easy mode, you're white, and if it's very difficult, you're black. And apparently you get less money on more difficult, you get less money, and people react to you in a generally less positive way. And I think it's really good political humor.
Yes.
It is. People might call it offensive, but I think they're drawing attention to something in a way that is biting. It is a biting satire. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we don't need to get into the politics of it on this podcast, but I think they did a really good job of making a point without it being like it's in your face, but almost in a way where some people may be like, well, that's weird, and just not get it, because that's very South Park. Also, it'll be funny to be like a black, because Jew is one of the classes. Oh, I can't even imagine what Cartman will say if you're a black Jew.
Very nice. Yeah, they pull no punches with their humor. So I'm looking forward to see how that works out. So yeah, South Park stirring up stuff again. And you had a not so much a story, but some information, I guess, on PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. There's some farming going on.
Yeah. So basically, when you play a game in PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, you get coins. I don't know what they're actually called, but some kind of coins, right? You get a currency.
You get some monies.
And you get them for every game that you play, even if you don't do anything. If you're the first person to die, it doesn't matter. You get a couple of these coins. Each week, you can buy a certain number of basically loot crates. I think 6 or 7 of them. Each one costs more, but it's not an outrageous amount of coins. So what people are doing is they are just running the game, staying in the plane, going AFK. Their guy falls down, dies. They get whatever, 20 coins or something. They just keep repeating that over and over, probably with a script. They get these loot boxes and either sell them unopened, or you can open them up and sell the contents. And a couple of the items are going for, you know, hundreds of dollars, and they're getting Steam credit for it. And so it's making games, you know, you have 100 players in each game. Now, granted, I mean, less players you have to deal with, it's a better chance you have of winning the game. Mm-hmm. But, you know, you play with 100 players, and after the first circle, like, so basically after the first reduction in the play area, 30 people die because they're just AFK. Now, it's now led to kind of a follow-on to that, where you farm the AFK farmers. So you basically stay in the plane on purpose, drop with the AFK farmers, and you kill them. And so you get the points for killing 15, 20 people, and then it doesn't matter, like you get a lot. And now the meta of that, of course, is that you sometimes, if you stay in the plane, you drop with 30 people at the end, and all those people are trying to farm AFK people, and it's just a punch fight between 30 people who thought they were going to be AFK people around.
That's funny.
So it's getting a little crazy.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
I can imagine. I hope they do something about that, because that's kind of not great gameplay.
The really easy way to fix that is that basically you get no coins or whatever unless you pick up a gun, maybe, right? That it's so easy to get to a place where you can pick up a gun, just any piece of equipment. And if you get killed before you get to a piece of equipment, tough shit, right? Like, so you don't get some currency that game. Like, it's so easy to do it. That would quickly make it so that this wasn't a thing that people did.
Yep. All right. So, and in other controversy, have you read the article from, and there's actually been 2 articles now, but I'm referring to the first article here from Dean Takahashi, who got a chance to play Cuphead.
Well, I saw the video, and I've seen a couple different articles that kind of talk about the situation. This is something we've talked about before. I think it was it Doom? Yeah, it was a review of Doom, and the person clearly had never played an FPS before or something like that. And we talked about this, and a couple of the articles have basically said, like, this has reignited that same debate that started then. And so, why don't you tell our viewers about what's going on?
Yeah, well, Dean Takahashi got about 26 minutes of playtime with Cuphead, I believe, at Gamescom in Germany, and apparently he was pretty bad at it. I mean, like, couldn't do tutorial level things. That's how bad he was.
We didn't see, there's no webcam video of him, so it's entirely possible somebody was bothering him while he was playing or whatever.
Yeah, so. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities for this, but I mean, he put the whole 26 minutes of gameplay online, and like, there's one part where he's got to like dash over something, and there's instructions right on the screen that says how to do it, and he can't do it.
It's like 5 minutes of him trying to jump over this large pillar.
And I mean, he talks about things like, there's one point where he says, I didn't realize for quite a long time that you don't accomplish anything by jumping on top of an enemy, like in the Mario games. And to me, it was interesting, because this means he came into this game with a kind of like with an idea of what to expect out of this kind of game, and didn't get it. And I don't know. Do you fault the player for not thinking about this, or do you fault the game for coming across in a way that it might be, or is this just something that is okay?
I don't fault somebody for going into a platformer thinking, I'm going to jump on something and is going to die, because that's true in a reasonable number of platformers.
Yes.
Sonic, Mario, certain like Ninja Turtles games of the past, like Spelunky, what's it called? Braid, like all kinds of games. You jump on the bad guys and they die. Or maybe not Braid. I guess you could ride on the guys in Braid. But anyway, most platformers, you jump on an enemy and it does damage to them within reason.
Yes.
But like, all it should take is one time for your expectation of doing damage by jumping on them to be subverted. And you're like, oh, that didn't do anything. I guess you don't kill guys by jumping on them in this game. And that should be the end of it. Like, maybe you try one more time. You're just like, oh, maybe I didn't hit it quite right. Maybe you have to jump straight on or something like. But you should very quickly be able to learn that that's not what you do.
And of course,
it shouldn't be a big deal. Like, that shouldn't be an excuse. You shouldn't have to make excuses for that.
No, but of course, I mean, people are latching onto this, saying that somebody that's this bad at games should not be in journalism. No one's latching onto the fact that this article that got published on August 24th, it took them until September 5th to correct an error saying that developers were not the developers that developed Super Meat Boy.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's like almost 2 weeks. It's like, okay, so why aren't people mad at that? They're mad at the fact that you can't play the game.
They're just mad at everything. We've talked about game viewers.
But even in his second article, he even says things like his YouTube video of this has a ratio of more than 12-1 thumbs down. So this isn't just internet trolls going out there and rating this. This is a lot of people. It takes a lot for a video to get more thumbs down than it does thumbs up. So, yeah, and he wrote a follow-up article with it, saying he thought that him posting a video of him being bad at it is funny. People didn't take it that way, and then it just went down from there, like getting all kinds of negative tweets thrown his way, stuff like that. But yeah, he says he's had a lot of people come to his defense, mostly journalists, of course. But at the same time, I mean, I guess when you put something out there like this, I mean, you need to expect the negativity that comes your way and be ready for it.
I think he would have done well to preface that video with, "Hey, like, I was just screwing around. I was distracted. I was having a bad day." Like,
he just says he sucks at it.
Yeah,
he says straight up he's bad.
Yeah, and that's fine. Ms. Barjanan said at the same time, plenty of platformers also have different ways of eliminating enemies, like Super Mario Brothers 2, the US version, of course, which is Doki Doki Panic, rebranded as Mario, where you had to pick up the enemies or the vegetables and throw them at the enemies, or Jill the Jungle. So while I can understand cutting some slack, not that much. And when you get angry, I'm not angry.
I'm not angry either.
I think there's a minimum level of gaming capability that a gaming critic should have, right? Like, that not being able to dash over the top of the thing in the instructions was pretty bad. I don't expect, if somebody plays Crypt as a review for the first time, I don't expect them to get past, into the second area, right? Like, I can barely make it through the second area, and I haven't played a lot, but I've played enough. Whereas Ron can run a whole game in like 4 minutes. Meanwhile, some people can play Splunky faster than Ron, or just anything, right? Like, you get better at certain games, and that's okay too. But you shouldn't look like you've never played any game before ever, right? Like, you wouldn't, not everyone's a Siskel and Ebert when they're reviewing movies, but you shouldn't let a 6-year-old that's never seen a movie before, write a movie review for the New York Times. It's just, or you don't let somebody who only reads nonfiction to review the greatest new sci-fi book. There's a certain level of competence in the area that you expect the reviewer to have. And I think that there are some cases where maybe that's not happening. Now, I might enjoy reading a review by a 6-year-old of a new movie, but for different reasons, right? Like, I like watching Clueless Gamer, right? You watch somebody who doesn't know what they're doing play a game, because it's kind of fun to see a game through someone's eyes who doesn't have the meta version of that game in their head.
Exactly.
But the backlash on this has been way overblown.
It has, and if anything, I think this will probably end up being good for Cuphead, because now people are like interested in this. It's like, this game really
it's
that
gonna
hard?
Be good for the game.
Go check that out. This game was already looking pretty good to begin with, and this was one of the more highly anticipated games already. And now it's getting all this publicity. It's going to help them out for sure. So
it looks like Disney made Dark Souls. I specifically said that
I know you did. I'm not even looking at the screen, and I can see you smiling out of the corner of your head. That's like another journalistic, I guess, stereotype is that everything says, "Oh, this is the Dark Souls of blah blah blah," and Cuphead is now the Dark Souls of Disney. So it's like so overused.
Yeah,
it's ridiculously overused. Anyway, what are you drinking?
Water. Actually, also, Borgernon said
hold on, back up. Water?
Yeah, I was watching football this afternoon. I drank half a 6-pack, and then my son was being a tiny little asshole.
And you drank the other half.
And I drank half a bottle of wine. So now I'm drinking water. So yeah, I wouldn't say that he has no business at the gaming or gaming journalism because of this, because it would be like me talking Descent to a bunch of experienced competitive Descent players when I'm more casual than a filthy casual at that game. I'm more casual than a filthy casual. I'm not sure. I assume that they mean that they're even more casual than a filthy casual versus more casual, whatever. They're quite casual. I would appear as a non-Descent player to some random competitive player. So that's true. Like even if you just play a little bit, then it's almost like you don't play. But to put that in perspective, you can fly the ship around, and you can shoot things, and like you can shoot a flare, like how to run the game. You wouldn't just float around and fly into a wall for 15 minutes. So that's the difference.
Yep. All right. So you're not drinking. I think you need to go get some scotch. That's what I think. Because we're going to talk about League of Legends, because I'm sure you guys didn't talk a lick about it last week. Is that correct?
I don't remember what we talked about last week. I think I was pretty drunk.
So last week, of course, was the finals, September 2nd, September 3rd, for the LOL Esports League of Legends League Championship Series. And TSM, of course, took it 3-1 over Immortals. They're your summer split champions. They're going to be going to Worlds. Counter Logic Gaming got third place, so they're being placed into a regional tournament. And the way the regional tournament works is there's 4 teams. They're seeded 1, 2, 3, 4. The number 1 team only has to play 1 set. Whereas the number 3 and number 4 teams, if they want to win, they have to play 3 sets. They have to beat everyone, basically. And FlyQuest took out Dignitas 3-0, but fell to Counter Logic Gaming 3-1. So it's going to be Cloud9 and Counter Logic Gaming. And I believe the winner of that gets the 3rd spot. I don't remember who gets the 2nd spot, although I want to say it's Immortals, but I'm not sure if that's right. I'm pretty sure it's Immortals. That will be also going to Worlds. Meanwhile, in the EU, it was G2 Esports that took out Misfits 3-0. Fnatic won the 3rd place game. And in their regionals, H2K is dominating. They've 3-0'd Splice. Veg will be happy to learn that they 3-2'd Unicorns of Love. And it's going to be H2K versus Fnatic for the 3rd spot for EU. And that will determine who goes to the finals there. I do believe it is Misfits and G2 Esports are the other 2 teams. I'll have to double check. I think that, no, I don't know. I'll have to double check, but yeah, so there'll be 3 teams from both those regions going to the finals. We'll know who those are by the end tomorrow, so that'll be cool. And yeah, that does it for news, unless you had anything else.
Yep, I knew some of those words.
You knew some of them. They were words.
Yeah.
You knew the word of.
Yeah. Well, and League and Legends.
3. You knew that one. You know that word, right?
I knew those. Yeah. Okay.
So you're good. You're learning slowly. You're not a complete failure of League of Legends.
I heard the term jungling. I assume that you go into the jungle.
Yes.
There's a jungle.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next professional esports player, Pentherian.
Yeah.
We're good to go. So we're going to wrap up this first part of the show and move on to the second half of the show. And this is Shosan's favorite part of the show. And this is, I just spoiled it again, didn't I?
It's Shosan's favorite part of the show.
God damn it. Why am I doing this? This is like becoming a thing. It doesn't need to be a thing. You know what else?
I want to get recursive. It's going to be Show's favorite part of the show, Show's favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
But since that's Show's favorite part of the show, it'll be Show's favorite part of the show, Show's favorite part of the show, Show's favorite part of the show.
I think we desperately need to rename this part of the show.
Nope.
Dan, what you been playing?
So kind of my weeklies, playing some Overwatch and some Heroes. There's a Heroes thing that we talked about a little bit last week for the Kel'Thuzad intro. There's a thing going on where you can get some player emblems and maybe a skin or something. I don't know. You play in a game with a Kel'Thuzad, and then you have to get a certain number of kills in games. Not all in the same game. It's just whatever. It's easy. Just play a few games. I did finish the main quest and the first DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition. So the main quest in the Jaws of Hakkon. I actually did the DLC first because I didn't know if it was meant to come after or before the main game. I didn't know if it was, because it kind of just showed, like, so when you play Witcher 3, the DLCs, the quests show up as different colors. In Dragon Age, it's just like there are other quests that happen to be part of the DLC, but it doesn't really tell you. The only difference is it was hard to shit. So I was like, oh, this must be part of the DLC. It probably falls near the end of the game. It turns out it was sort of post game. But I was toward the end of the game. So I was able to do it. But what happened is I ended up getting weapons that were like 50% more powerful than what I was already using. So when I beat the DLC, I then came back to the main game and absolutely crushed the final boss. Like, it wasn't even a challenge, which is a little unfortunate, but it was kind of cool being uber powerful. And then I have the final DLC called Trespasser, which I'm told is quite good. I was going to start it, but it gave you a warning that it will completely lock you out of everything. It basically fast forwards time like 3 years or something from the end of the first game. So I need to scroll through all my unfinished quests and decide if I want to bother with them or not, or just move on. And Bundle Stars had Mortal Kombat X. I believe it's X and not actually 10. I think it's called Mortal Kombat X for like $6 or something. So I picked that up. Haven't played Mortal Kombat since I played Mortal Kombat 2 in an arcade in about 1994.
Is it gory as hell?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
There's like an X-ray move you can do. You fill up like a bar, and the bar lets you either enhance your normal abilities, like, you know, Melina or Melina, right? Who has the katanas, or the Sai, I mean. Whoever has a Sai, I think it's Melina. Like, instead of throwing one, she throws two if you use your enhanced bar. But if you fill it all the way, you get to do like a special X-ray move. And so she shoves her Sais through the enemy's eyes, and it zooms in and goes extra slow, and it's like an X-ray mode or whatever. You can see it go through their skull and stuff, and it's pretty cool.
Sounds like typical Mortal Kombat.
It's Mortal Kombat. There's a story mode where it lets you, like, you start off as Johnny, and you play different characters as the story progresses, and it looks like you can actually skip the fights if you want, and just kind of watch the story if any of them happens to be too hard for you. It's interesting. It's for $6, you know. It's less than the cost of lunch at work sometimes. So figured I'd pick it up and just have something to kind of lay around on the couch and play.
Pretty neat.
That's it.
All right. So I'm going to start off with something a little odd this week because I don't often do something like this, but I actually had a chance late, I think it was last Sunday, to play one of the new Jackbox games.
I bought that as well, but I haven't played any of it.
Have you seen TKO yet?
No.
T as in T-shirt.
Oh yes.
So
vaguely saw something about it.
Give you an idea of the premise of this game is that there's I guess 3 phases to the game, and in the first phase you draw 2 drawings, whatever you want. There's like no limit. And then you type in a whole bunch of phrases or sayings or something. And then in the third phase, you put those together. You'll be presented with a number of drawings and a number of sayings, and you put together what you think will be the funniest. And then they go into this phase where it's like a gauntlet. You have to, which T-shirt is better, this one or this one? I don't know if I'm like terribly embarrassed by this or if this is freaking hilarious as what, but this was my drawing that one. It's a sprite from Zone 5 in Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Mm-hmm.
And someone just put the word "don't" under it. And for whatever reason, the group I was in just they thought it was hilarious.
Were you playing it? Where were you playing it?
Online.
You can play online?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we were playing over Twitch.
Oh, over Twitch. Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, it was hilarious that this thing won from, it's like one of the first ones that came up and it made it the whole way through. It was like, okay, don't. Yeah. So that was that. Yeah, my poor drawing of a sprite from Zone 5 ended up winning that.
Nice.
I suck at drawing. I really do. But yeah, there was that. Other things I've been playing this past week, not past 2 weeks actually, not a whole lot. I did get my Hill Mode Spelunky clear.
Nice.
It was so funny because I was so panicked on the last floor. I mean, I knew how to beat the boss, and I beat him pretty cleanly. And I remember watching another streamer goes by the name of Tic Tac Foe, and he had beaten the boss too, but didn't make it to the exit because there's this little spiky, swirly spike thing, and he hit it literally 1 tile away from the exit. So he didn't win, despite killing the final boss. And I was sitting there the whole time screaming, I will not pull a Tic-Tac-Foe. I will not pull a Tic-Tac-Foe. And it's like every little thing I saw between him and the exit just like panicking me. I was like, no, go away. I ended up getting it, though, so it's pretty good. Crypt of the Necrodancer, my Condor 6th season is over, and I couldn't be happier. More on that later. And the latest game that I've gotten my hands on is a new twin-stick shooter, and get this. When you buy the game, you're buying it at the rate of 3 megabytes per dollar.
That's an expensive game.
It's 21 megabytes.
It's a small game.
It's a small game, but it is so good. It's called Monolith. It's an 8-bit style game, but it's very much patterned around games such as maybe Enter the Gungeon or Isaac. It's really cool. It's got all kinds of different weapons. It's got several different modes. It's a lot of fun to play. It's got a great soundtrack from Mark of Dream. Definitely worth checking out. It's pretty cheap, $7. So definitely, if you have the time, I highly recommend it. I've been having a lot of fun playing it. So, and that just about does it. I really haven't been playing a whole lot of diverse games, largely because I've been off my streaming schedule lately. I want to get back on that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to this week, but next week for sure, I'll be getting back onto my usual schedule of games. So
yep.
That'll just about do it. So we're going to move on to the...
I just wanted to... Bordron's... Is that Ms. Bordron? MS06?
MS06 Bordjarnen.
Bordjarnen?
Yes.
I'm imagining it's Mr. Bordjarnen's 6th wife.
Miss 6 Bordjarnen.
Maybe
no.
But they said that they'll pitch in and that they've been assisting a Japanese streamer in their chat where some on some of the secrets are and things to do in Doom 1, which is, patient gamers unite. And apparently this streamer used the GZ engine, but it's the 93 game otherwise. And they've been accustomed to watching games more than playing them. and they said that the bilingual streamer is called Japanglish, Japanglish, like Japan Glish, like English. So thanks for letting us know. That's I'll check that out. Yeah, we've talked about streaming and watching and whatever, and I try to stream when I play, but I always forget.
Yeah. This is kind of between me and Borjern, and another big Doom player, or at least one that knows a lot about Doom, is Lotharbot. He's a big Doom guy, so perhaps worth picking his brain for some knowledge. Yeah, but that does it for our second half of the podcast. We're going to move on to the third half of the podcast. This is the round half of the podcast, and it's the table half of the pod. I've done it again.
It's the round half table.
It's half of a round table. Is that what it's been the whole time?
I think it's like a moon shaped table. It's like a waxing crescent table.
Dan,
what?
That's no moon.
Veg is not here.
No, he's not. But I'm pretty sure that he's the round table. He's round at the very least. But this is 6 Gaming Round Table, where we have a question to ask. And this week, so I put forward this question. I did something for the show this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I've been playing Crypt of the Necrodancer quite a bit over the last 5 weeks now. And I noticed in the last couple of weeks that when I go to do the races, instead of having fun doing the races, they have been highly stressful. And I've come away, even in races that were really good. Like I had a really good set today on the show that they do. They called it was the best set easily the best set of the day. They had 8 different matchups, and they said this was their favorite of it. And to be fair, there were some really close races, and I felt miserable after it because I was so stressed out after doing those races, and it got me to thinking, how do I need to deal with this? Here's the question: how do you deal with this kind of stress in games where you're wanting to do something and then you realize that it's so stressful? Do you put down the game? Do you try to do something else with it? Do you do something maybe you shouldn't do and you should be doing something else instead?
Well, we all know what Show does.
Well, yeah, he just chucks the controller.
Show chucks the controller across the room and breaks it.
GG. Problem solved. He doesn't have to play it again.
It depends on the game and it depends on the situation. We've talked about IKEA before. I played IKEA from 2002, I think is when I first started. Since I retired, on and off, I popped in a little bit. So 15 years of this game, right? During the 10 years that I was an admin, there were definitely times where I stepped away. I was like, okay, I'm not going to play the game for a few days at all. It's too stressful. It's too much like work. I can't deal with the bullshit that's going on. And I came back and I felt better.
To be fair, in IKEA, you really could do that. I mean, it was...
Yeah. Both when I was just a regular player and as a god, there were some times where I stepped away because it was just too much. In your case, if it's a different game where, there's really no one depending on you, right? In IKEA, it was a little bit different when you're an admin or even when you're a regular player. When you're in a leadership position, there are people that sort of depend on you. They're in-game responsibilities. It's like, we talked about Warcraft before when this was, the 6 Gaming podcast, because we were 6 minutes to release and we were raiding. And part of the podcast was telling about how the guild was doing in raids. And when we were stuck on a dino,
what was that? Fuck that guy. Yeah. In Throne of Thunder.
In Throne of Thunder, the second boss or whatever, that was a dino in the arena. And that was, I think, honestly, that kind of started the decline of the guild because we were so fucking frustrated with it. No one wanted to raid, and everyone was just kind of like, you know what, I'm just not going to be around this week.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be before that. What was the raid before Throne of Thunder? The first two.
Yeah, there were 3 There's
Halls of Stone, I think, and
Halls of Medicine.
The bug.
I know what you're talking about.
They're like the bug guys. Yeah. Those guys, those two, we filled up those raids a lot of the time. There were people who had to sit in the sidelines because
we had 3 raids going at one time once.
Yeah, and the tiers, like the Shah of Fear was at the end. You fought the water spirit girl.
Yeah, it's Toes.
Yeah,
Endless Spring Toes.
Yes. So like we had three of them going on, and it was lots of fun. And then we got to hack something. Hordon? Was it called Hordon?
Hordon, yeah. It was indeed a big whore.
And it was everyone just hated playing. No one wanted to play anymore. And I don't blame them. It was really frustrating. And when a game is frustrating, you need to stop. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things in Achaea that has always, I've said from the beginning, people will play, and then in the forums or privately to me or to, they'll be like, I hate this game, I hate playing, I don't want to play anymore, but I have to play. I'm like, well, there's 2 things that could be going on. One is you're addicted. Like, honestly, I think video game addiction is a real thing. There are people who need to get help with it. Wanting to play a lot is not the same as video game addiction. But there's some people who have to play, or they feel ill, or they are, like, codependent isn't the right word, but they have this weird feeling that if they don't, if they're the ruler of Ashton, the game will go on. Someone else will get appointed or elected or whatever. It's not the end of Achaea if you don't show up. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the case even with the admin positions.
Yeah, and there have been gods who just stopped logging in. The only negative thing about that is, there are some people who they logged in. I talked to them, they logged out, and then they never logged in again. And to this day, there are a few people that I hope that they're okay, right? Like, there were people who I was kind of friendly with, and I don't know their real name, and I never checked it when I was an admin, because that's kind of an invasion of privacy. Just because you have the ability to sometimes at a certain point, it doesn't mean you should. That was one thing that I drew a line at. I've asked some people, like, hey, do you know so-and-so? Like, are they okay? And there are just some people who were kind of, they kept to themselves. They never talked to people out of character a lot. So if you're gonna leave a game that's a multiplayer game, at least tell people, hey, I'm taking a break, or I'm quitting, or whatever, just so they don't worry that you got in a car accident the next day. But if you're frustrated with the game, like, there's plenty of games where if I can't make any progress, I'll close the game, I'll play another game, or I'll uninstall the game and just be like, all right, well, I'm done with that game if it's gotten too frustrated. I don't let it bother me. I certainly, if I'm in a part of a game where it's hard and I've played 6 or 7 times in the same place and it's gotten frustrating, that it does get interesting, because I'll start to make stupid mistakes because I'm frustrated, and I just keep losing more and more and more because I keep rushing in. Like, I'll get greedy, right? There'll be like a Dark Souls enemy where I know I can only get 3 hits in, but I'm frustrated. I want to get it done with, so I try to go for 4 hits and I get hit in the face and killed. So that happens as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be pretty frustrating. So, like, in my case with Necrodancer, for me, it's never the game. It's getting mentally prepared for the races. And it got to the point where, I had a couple bad races. I had some really good races too. But I had a couple bad races, and the bad races were just dominating the good races in terms of, how I was thinking about the game. Mm-hmm. And after a while, I started realizing this has stopped being fun. Yep. And it's kind of funny because I still think that Necrodancer is a really great game. There's still a lot of things I'd like to do with it, but I think racing's not one of them anymore. I think that me personally, I don't. It's not that I can't handle the stress; it's that I don't like it. I don't like having to go through that kind of anger, the self-hatred, the stuff like that, the things that generally the bad feelings that come along with that feeling of dread that you're going to have to do something you don't know how it's going to go, and you feel like you're going to get criticized for this tiniest thing, which happens all the time in this community. And it might be they're usually doing it to be positive. And for me, it's like, dude, I just screwed up because I was under stress.
Yep.
I don't want to hear it because I know why I know generally why I'm losing some of the races. Today's races, I did great. I won the first game, and the second 2 games were within 15 seconds. I mean, it was super close. It was really good, and it just my opponent had a better day, so he won, and that's fine. And I felt miserable afterwards, and I don't feel like, based on how the races went, I have any right to be feeling that miserable. So I'm stepping away. I love the Condor community. Most of the people there are really cool. I've met a lot of awesome people from that community: Squega, Elad, Paperlore. God, I could name a whole bunch. I can name a whole bunch of people. These are just a small number of people in that community that are pretty damn awesome people. Tic Tac Foe, I mentioned him earlier. Met him through Necrodancer. So I'm probably still going to stick with the community itself, because they allow you to do the way that their tournaments work. You can cast their races, and that's something I like doing. I mean, I did a Descent cast today for 2 hours and change, and it's a lot of fun for me. That I really enjoy. So I'm probably going to continue doing that. I'm just going to. My method is to change how I'm approaching what I do.
Yep.
And it depends on the game. Like I'm trying to think of a good example. Like a game where you're trying to do some kind of really hard thing. I guess we'll go with Spelunky because that one worked out okay. There were times in that run where I got really close, and I had 4 separate deaths in Zone 5, and one of them was so bad. We're talking what happened was I had like the best build. I had the rocket pack. I had a shotgun. I was good to go. I was flying around my own business, and this stupid little zombie just jumped up as high as it could. Like literally, it could not jump any higher, and ran right into me. And in Spelunky, what that does is that causes you to lose control of your character. So your character is now suffering from ragdoll physics. And my character goes all the way down to the left and down a screen. It was ridiculous how far he flew. Bounces around a bit and comes to rest on Kali's altar. If you haven't had that happen to you before, what happens is you sacrifice yourself to Kali, and game over. And that was so frustrating. I stopped playing for like a week. Like, I can't do that. I got too far for something like that to happen. But I came back to it with a clear head, gave it a try one night, and I had a really good game and ended up winning. So it's just, sometimes you just got to walk away. And it's especially like as a streamer, that's hard to do. I'm really happy that run where I sacrificed myself wasn't on stream, because I would have lost it. I would have had to end the stream right there. But when you're on stream and you have these things happen to you, it's just like,
Speaking of rage quitting a stream, I saw earlier someone was playing Battlegrounds, and they were in the car, and they said, "How do you change gears?" And somebody in Twitch chat said, "You press F to change gears." And they're like, oh, "Okay, well, I mean, they should know F enters and exits the car, but they were not thinking, and they just like glanced at chat. So they were driving at full speed, hit F, jumped out of the car, and ran themselves over. And they're just like, just walked away, just couldn't deal with it. It's like when I used to play
Sounds
StarCraft in like the mid 90s or whatever it was.
I almost had to do that yesterday.
People would like you download custom maps, right? There'd be
Mm-hmm.
a lot of use map settings maps,
Mm-hmm.
and someone would be like, "Oh, this is taking forever," and you'd be like, "Hold Alt and press F4 to make the map download faster."
Yeah.
It'd be like, "So and so has left the game. So and so has left the game."
So yep, that's so good. You were talking about something like really silly, causing you to rage quit. I almost had that happen yesterday. Deep Blues in Crypto Necrodancer.
Deep Blues.
And the Electric Dagger.
Yep.
I have the Pulse spell as well. So knowing that the Electric Dagger only does 2 damage, my thought was throw it at the king and then hit him with Pulse and kill him. So I threw my dagger at the king. It killed all 15 other pieces. He teleported immediately next to me and punched me in the face. GG.
Good job.
And I sat there just kind of like this, staring at the screen, still processing what just happened. In like seething anger just overcoming me. And I just sat there. I was angry. I was very angry. So yeah, I could definitely relate. So much for this being a short show, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have managed to make this almost an hour here. It's nice.
Borgernon also said that Mario Kart 8 is a crazy party game, but it's a good game to play by yourself too. But there's somebody that they know that plays on occasion but hates it, and it's not necessarily masochism, but for entertainment purposes. Gave the game for a year, but still hates it because it isn't based on skill. And I agree. Mario Kart, there really should be, other than turning off all the items, there should be a way to set items so that they are truly random. Even if you say balanced or random or whatever, they're not. If you're in last place, you get better items than if you're in first place, and it should be totally random.
But yeah. Very cool. All right. So I think, my chatty just crashed. I lost chat.
Oh, yep. Borgernon is a guy. Okay. Cool. So when I was saying Ms. before, I had it in my head and I was like, I don't actually know. So I'm just going to be generic.
Yeah. Miss 06. But yeah, that's gonna, I think, unless you got anything else.
I got nothing.
I got nothing. I think that's going to do it for this week. As I just jump back in chat here. Thank you guys for stopping by and watching this.
And hi, Cersei.
Show. And we definitely appreciate you guys being here every week. We're going to have to figure out what we're doing for BlizzCon weekend because it sounds like that no one's going to be here except you.
We'll skip a week.
So we might skip a week, but we'll be here when we can. I've got all Saturdays open for now, so I definitely plan on filling in for Mr. Shosan, who said he's going to be out till December.
Yeah, I hope he's all right, but
he says it's work.
Yeah,
he got him working Saturdays, so veg as well. So I mean, there's a lot of people we're not going to see. So anyway, of course, you can check us out over at 6.gg, which, by the way, I just renewed yesterday.
Oh, cool.
So that we got that for another year, and you can check out our Discord and everything about us. Pretty much find our archive over on YouTube because we kind of fail at doing a proper podcast. we'll figure it out someday, I'm sure. So anything you'd like to leave us with?
I found a picture of the MS-06 Borgernon.
Uh-oh.
It's a cool green mecha suit thing, which apparently is used in the correct century timeline by the Louisiana militia.
The correct century timeline, as opposed to
I assume that there's an incorrect century.
Yeah, that's kind of what that means.
I don't know anything about Gundam stuff, so maybe I'll look it up. I have gotten into various anime things before, just on a random tip. So we'll see. Oh, so a friend, I haven't read it yet, but a friend loaned me a one-shot comic. It is Elmer Fudd versus Batman. And it is like a 100% serious, like fully illustrated, like in the style of Batman, not in the style of Looney Tunes.
Oh, but why is this a thing?
I think it's pretty funny.
All right. Well,
that's all I got.
Well, I'm going to sign off here just saying for folks that may be in Florida or know folks that are in Florida, hopefully everything's all right. I know I had a whole bunch of people in Houston when Harvey hit, and that was a thing. Seems like, Dan, you might be getting some of that.
It's just rainy.
It's just raining, says Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully it's all right. So that's going to do it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be back here next week. Until then, Dan.
All that's left is for me, Clive Anderson, saying good night. Good night.